Hello and welcome to the Super Rugby preview for Super Rugby Aotearoa and Super Rugby AU here on New Zealand Sports Radio and Cornflake's channel as well. Hi, I'm Paul. As you can tell, I'm not Steve. Unfortunately, he has had a power cut again down in the South Island. And seriously, folks, learn how to drive. Stop knocking over power poles. That's what I say. Steve, Shane, what about yourself? Shane, are you there? No, he's frozen. I'm all alone. Oh no, dearie me. Shane, join me. Where have you gone? Oh dear, Shane's frozen. So hopefully we can we'll get him back. Hopefully he'll rejoin us. But at the moment, as you can see, we're having some technical issues with Shane. So we'll if he comes back, then fantastic. If not, then I guess I'll have to soldier on my own. Let's kick off then with the Highlanders versus the Blues on Friday night. And in this one, we have got some interesting selections because, well, partly because Conor Garden-Bachop unfortunately has broken his wrist and he is out for the rest of the season. So unfortunately, he's gone. Another player injured for the Highlanders, really having some issues now. That means if Josh Ioane comes in at fullback, you have Punavai, Nariki on the wings, Tomkinson in the 13 jersey with Gregory in the 12, so continuing with that centre combination. Aaron Smith and Mitch Hunt are the 9 and 10, as you'd expect. Moving on to the pack then, you've got Johnson, Dixon and Tokalahi across the front row there, with Evans and Dixon in the engine room. Your Lucy's Frizzell, Billy Harmon and Hemino. So yes, what a cracking set of Lucy's that is. And it's going to be a real battle in that area with the Blues. Let's be honest. One of the big things that about that Highlanders win over the Crusaders was their turnovers. So they're going to have to do that. Again, I think we've got Shane back. Are you there, sir? No, it doesn't look like it. We seem to be having all sorts of technical issues this evening.
How are you?
Oh, you are? Fantastic. Good to see you. I've just run through the Highlanders starting 15.
Around.
Oh, dear.
Yes.
Dear me.
Almost like a game of tennis.
I was going to say, folks, you know what? Yeah, support New Zealand Sports Radio. Help us get all the tech so we can do these shows for you. But yes, off the bench, I've got Coltman, De Groot, Honeck, Selby, Rickett, Makalei, Tu'u for the and also Lenchis for the forwards. Again, going with that 6-2 combination with just Kane Hamilton and Michael Collins in the backs. Dr. Wright saying Shane is practicing freeze acting. I'm not quite sure that's exactly what's going on, but something along those lines. Look, despite all the injuries for the Highlanders, look, they've still got a decent side, especially with that those back three can be really dangerous, can't they? Definitely silence there. Having some issues with Shane's connection this evening. Unfortunately, I might have to just soldier on my own. But look, that back three of Josh Ioane, Punavai, and Nariki can really cause some damage. So the Blues are going to want to be careful how they kick to them. And then you've also got as I say, that loose trio, in particular Frizzell, Harmon, and Hemino, are going to cause real problems at the breakdown. As well, so that's going to be a major area of this game for the Blues. You've got Perifetta, Mark Talia, and Caleb Clark as your back three. A centre combination of TJ Fayani and Rico Iwani again in there. Your 9-10 of Ruru and Terry Black. Across the front row, we have got Tuanakafi, Tolai and Tongafasi. So, a couple of all black props there in the engine room. Cowley Totti and Sam Derry. And then your Lucy's of Robinson, Papulihi and Satutu. It's going to be a real battle, as I say, between those two loose trios there. No Patrick in the engine room is going to be a big loss for this team. And with Apasai Hodgman, Lualala, Josh Goodhue, Kiriawani coming off the bench, they've got some power there in that for the forwards, with Christie, Harry Plummer, and Bryce Heem. Very surprising to see Bryce Heem there in that 23 jersey, when the other younger back three players who have not been selected have not been mentioned as being injured either. Look, Shane says the Blues have shown a lot of consistency and playing some good attacking rugby. They have been, but look, they have a tendency of tripping themselves up against sides like this. The Highlanders have also been had sort of good and bad performances. When they nail it, they really do nail it there. Looking at this one, I'm going with the Blues to edge it because of those injuries that the Highlanders have been having. But I'm only going by 3 points because you know what? Look, the Highlanders, even when they had to drop 6 players through disciplinary, beat the Crusaders. This is a decent Highlanders side. I say that when they click really well. And if they have got the game plan right, if Tony Brown has got it right, then they should beat the Blues. But the Blues, as Dr. Rice says, on paper the Blues by 10, so he's going Highlanders by 13. Exactly. It has that feel about it. I'm still going with the Blues though in that one. Gavin Gould has come on and asked a question in the live chat there. Look, this was really previewing the games today rather than going through the news. What's our opinion on TJ potentially going to NRL? And New Zealand Rugby probably not going to re-sign him. It is off topic. It is an interesting one. But TJ will not be going to NRL. They will be re-signing him. I think it's absolute rubbish what JK has been saying around this one, folks. And I've got into a little Twitter spat with John Kays about that. I'm not a fan of JK as a rugby pundit. Fantastic player, done wonderful work for mental health, but not a good rugby pundit or good rugby coach for that matter. So that's how I see our Friday night going, folks. Don't forget, you can join us straight after the final whistle. We'll have post-match reaction here on New Zealand Sports Radio. Check us out on the Facebook page or YouTube channel and have a chat with us about how that game goes. Shane's gone by 1, Blues by 1. I've gone Blues by 3. We're going for that narrow margin for the away team. Yes, our viewers are all going for the home side. So it's going to be, it is one of those ones that is, I think look, last weekend, the biggest winning margin was 3 points. I can see that happening again this weekend as well, especially in this one. Moving on then to Saturday, we've got the Chiefs versus the Crusaders. I will be at this game, so keep an eye out, especially on the Facebook page for post-match interviews that I'll be part of in that one. For the Chiefs, they've got Chase Tia at 15. Yep, you know what that means. We're going to have DMAC at 10. The other wing, Jonah Lowe on one wing, and you've got Nana Satoro on the other wing. So a decent set of wingers there. Antonio Brown and Alex Nankiville in the centres. Unfortunately, the Quinton Pyer has gone and done his MCL, and he is out for 6 to 8 weeks. The same kind of injury that Artie Surveyor has gone and done, who's also out for 6 to 8 weeks as well there. Weber and Dame McKenzie in that 9-10 combination. So a lot of people will be talking about that, about DMAC at 10. Looking at the forwards then, Ross, Takilaho and Ta'avo are your starting front row, with Va'ai and Arkoi in the engine room. Mitchell Brown, Boshier and Luke Jacobson, a very much changed loose trio there as well. Luke Jacobson going really well at 8 in his new role. Lach and Bashir, the latest, have to step up to fill the big boots of Sam Cane. Off the bench, we'll have Harris, Norris and Mafaleo on the front row with Soikula and Boshier. So yes, no cover really for those two young locks. They're going to have to play a lot of minutes. Triple T in there at 21 with Gatland and Sean Wainui also coming off the bench. Shane, like, why do the Chiefs keep continuing with DMAC at 10 when he's a 15? Well, look, Chase Tiatir is a fantastic 15 as well. Remember, down the Hurricanes was really good at 15, not so great on the wing. He's not a winger. He can also play centre though, but they've got good centres. And it's a matter of trying to get your best players on the pitch in this one for the Chiefs. But you've got to say, yeah, DMAC not very good at lead, not best player. Very good at 10, perhaps in the second half when it's all opened up a bit. He's not having to lead the team around the pitch so much. But in the first half, really, it's going to be I think they're going to get some pressure on him. And it's going to be interesting to see how he does there. Again, not had much time there this season, really. And to be up against the Crusaders, yeah, tough ask there. For the Crusaders, Will Jordan, Reese and Bridge, the back three. Wow. Yeah, that's a killer back three, isn't it? Lester Fayanuku is the man who's been asked to step in to fill Jack Goodhue's. Josh Good. So Goodhue's boots in the 13 jersey. Does seem to be a bit of a cursed jersey with there with a number of players getting injured and dropping out from that one. David Havili coming in with at 12 again. Drummond and Mwanga at 9 and 10, and a front row of Bauer, McAllister, and Alatoa. Obviously with Moody also injured as well. In the engine room, Dunshay and Quinton Strange. So you've got to say it's their younger engine room duo. No Barrett or Whitelock in there. Scott Barrett will captain from 6 with Saunders at 7 and Ethan Blackadder at 8. I think this is a mistake, having Scott Barrett at 6. Look, he is a lock. He is not a Lucy. And after the Crusaders getting outgunned at the breakdown by the Highlanders, that's something I think it's an area that the Chiefs can really target here. When you got Boshier, Brown, and Jacobson, I really think they can target the breakdown and cause the Crusaders an awful lot of problems. Off the bench, then Cody Taylor, Isak Tuangafasi, and Ollie Jaeger. Luke Romano is the lock replacement, and Sione Havili Talitui for the Lucies. I can see him coming on pretty early if the Chiefs do get the upper hand at the breakdown. Hall, McLeod, and Matalehi. Good to see Matalehi back in the 23 there. So look, I'm going for the Crusaders in this one. Probably about, I think I'll go by 7. Shane's gone by 10 in this one. I think the Crusaders could struggle at the breakdown with that lack of mobility. The Chiefs are going to want to move that pack around as much as they can because it is going to be a larger pack. They will be the more mobile pack at the breakdown. So look out for that. The Crusaders possibly having to play a bit narrow as they can't get their Lucies to the breakdown out wide. Will be my one on that one. Both the Highlanders and the Hurricanes kicks a lot to the Crusaders. So we'll see if the Chiefs try and do the same sort of thing. One of the things we've seen less of is teams being able to score from their own half, particularly this season. So look, get in the other half and then try and make sure your set piece is working and score from there. That's really the method for that. Those are the 2 games then in Super Rugby Aotearoa, and then we follow that up with Super Rugby AU. First up, Western Force against the Waratahs over in Perth. Looking at the Force then, so McGregor at fullback with Richard Kahui on one wing and Oliwela Fella on the other wing. Your centres of Goodwin and Kurinjarani, with Goodwin captaining the side. Cabelli and Miotti, the Argentinian duo in that 9 and 10 jerseys. Robertson, Kaiatu, Medrano are your front row. Thrush and Tamani in the engine room. with Anstey, Koteka, and Stander are your Lucies. Obviously, still missing Rob Kearney at 15. Big loss for them there. Off the bench, Reddy, Wagner, and Holmes, the front row. McCluckley, Lee Warner are your other forwards. Pryor, Makarata, and Strachan there as well. So you're going to want Miotti to spend a lot of time on that pitch, running things around. Clearly, the Waratahs, having lost their or having sacked their head coach, did better against Brumbies, but still lost. They're still searching their first win. The Force will be looking at definitely getting the win on this one. I say good evening, Jordan, and everyone who is in the live chat. Thank you for joining us. Looking at the Waratahs then, Maddox, Newsom, and Ram are the outside backs. Now, look, with Richard Kahui out wide, look, there's definitely a lack of pace out wide for the Force. Is that an area that they'll be able to exploit? We'll have to wait and see. Fekete and Perezi are in the centres, and then you've got Gordon and Donaldson in the 9 and 10 jersey. That's right, with Ben Donaldson in there because Will Harrison did get himself injured, unfortunately, at the end of the game last weekend. So wishing him a speedy recovery, but a big problem there and big shoes to fill for the Waratahs. Bell, Parecki, and Johnson Holmes are at the front row with Sinclair and Douglas in the engine room. Swinton, Tizano, and Will Harris are the 6, 7, and 8 in this one. Look, losing the Force, sorry, the Waratahs have been struggling, even when they have had all their first choice players with injuries, particularly to Will Harrison. You've got to say this is going to be a real struggle for the Waratahs. Off the bench, Horton, Faulkner, and Breen, the front row with Caird and Williams, Gamble, Grant, and Edmed round out that bench. And I've got to say, this is a game the Western Force will come in as favourites. Not a situation that they're perhaps used to very often, but they should have too much here for this Waratahs side. I must admit, don't know much about Donaldson, but he is definitely going to be definitely someone you would target. And worried for how the Waratahs are going to go this weekend on that one. Nocturnal Rights for this 17-15 to the Force. I don't think this is going to be a 2-point game. I would suggest that the Force by quite a margin in that one. I do agree with Shane that we want to see more from their back line, but they should boss this game. And I'm going for the Force by 7, not by the 2 or 3 that everyone in the chat is going for. I think it's going to be bigger than that one. The final game of the weekend is on Sunday, which is a bit of a hassle for me as I'm videoing the local ladies rugby team for them. But I'll try and get back in time for it. It's the Rebels versus the Brumbies. The Brumbies already know that they can't have a home final. The Reds have secured that one. So for them, it's all about making sure that they finish the season on the right note. This is their last game of the regular season. They get a bye in the final round. But for the Rebels, it's Gibbon, Hansen, Femisili on the front row with Liotta and Hosea in the engine room. Kermy, Hardwick, and Wells are the loose trio, with Joe Powell and Matt Tamua, unsurprisingly, as your 9 and 10. Your centres are Magnay and Stacey Illy, and then out wide, Corabetti, Lamani, and Pincus at fullback. Off the bench, Ulysses, Elof, and Orr, Sordini and Halett Petty, and Nazarani. Now, actually, they've named 25 on the reserve, so there's going to be a couple of those that are going to have to be dropped off. So we'll have to see who is actually on the bench for the Rebels. So there's no point me running through that one. It's going to be a battle up front, isn't it? If you're up against the Brumbies, you're going to have to equal them up front. The Rebels, obviously, in those couple of opening games, had real strong defence that pushed these games close. Shane says he loves his afternoon rugby and making sure that the barbecue is fired up. 4 p.m. game here in New Zealand, but I think it's 2 p.m. In Australia, or on the east coast of Australia. So as he says, great one for the barbecue. Nocturnal Rights is asking, is Nazarani fit? Well, look, I say he's part of a 25-man squad, so 2 of those are going to have to be dropped. He has been named as one of the reserves, but as I say, you're looking at a couple of those forwards will be dropped with Tuttle Holland and Vaihu. Probably the backs reserves on that bench. Looking at the Brumbies team then, and it's Sio Fainga and Aotearoa for the front row with Swain and Neville in the engine room. James Tucker, player I've seen a few times playing for Waikato, at 6 with Scott and Valentini at 8. Longaran and Lolosio are your other halves. In the centres, Kuenzi and Ikitau, and then on the wings, Wright, Muirhead, and Tom Banks at fullback. Off the bench, you've got Longaran, Slipper, and Ross, Nick Frost, Miller, Nick White, Pasutoa, and Hansen. Look, you've got some experience coming off there with James Slipper and Nick Wright. Sorry, Nick White, not Nick Wright. So you've got to say, Shane's gone Brumbies by 7. I think he's probably about right with that one. Brumbies not been blowing teams away this season. They're not quite clicking in the way they have done as they did last year. They're still not quite at their best. That couple of percentage points where things just aren't quite working for them. But they have expanded their game, and I do expect them to have way too much for the Rebels, really, in this one. Nocturnal Rights says, can the Rebels put Corabetti into half a gap? Well, look, that's the whole thing, isn't it? The Rebels really have not been able to find space for their danger players like Corabetti this season, and we'll need to see more of that if they have any chance of beating this Brumbies team. Against Brumbies team, I say they're not high scorers. They're not going to blow you away in the same way the Reds can do if you fall asleep for 5 or 10 minutes or just fall off the pace. But they will grind you down, and they won't allow you to score many yourself. They're a very organised team, and I expect the Brumbies to win their final game of the regular season. So there you go, folks. That's our preview of the Super Rugby Aotearoa and Super Rugby AU. Have a cracking game. As I say, we will be live straight after the whistle of both the Super Rugby Aotearoa games. I will be hosting the one on Friday night, and Ashwin will host it on Saturday evening, as I will be at the Chiefs game in person. So can't make that. So won't be actually on the post-match reaction. And then we'll be back at 8 p.m. on Sunday with your Super Rugby review. We'll review all of the games. Have a cracking weekend, folks. Really looking forward to it. Those particularly those Super Rugby Aotearoa games are looking like they will be close again. Who knows? Will we have 2 more golden points?